silence or at your dinner tables, at the water coolers, wherever you're having your day-to-day discussions, and see how best or how far you can ventilate it beyond this space. So thank you again. And as always, I always encourage you to consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. I welcome the comments. Always, they help me to grow and evolve within this new space, right? So today my topic is mental health and the secrets that no one talks about. And one of the reasons why I wanted to raise some form of um, awareness and discussion to mental health is because for far too many years, mental health in whatever gender, whatever race, whatever space, whatever place has been something that has been very tabooed. A lot of persons have not saw the need to speak about mental health and how it affects them directly or indirectly. And in many of the instances, we can relate to persons who we see, whether on the news or just in our everyday spaces. We can relate because chances are we know somebody that is suffering from mental illness. Um, and if it's not somebody that we know directly, sometimes it is an indirect connection, and sometimes it's even ourselves. And the reality of it is that the seriousness of this particular um, state of mind or state of being is something that should no longer be pushed under the covers or swept under the rug, because more and more persons are facing the challenge of having to deal with mental illness or mental health, as the case may be. So today I wanted to just bring us into a place where we start to be more aware of our surroundings, be more aware of people within our lives that may exhibit signs of distress or signs of wanting help, because of what they are going through cognitively. So if for whatever reason, you know these persons, we want to put something positive to mental health, and not to stigmatize it as it may have been a couple of years ago, or trying to change the stigma surrounding it. So I wanted to just look at some key points, and as I always tell you, when I come on here, I am no expert in these areas, but I am very much um, committed committed to the topics that I bring to you, and I'm committed to the sense that there are things that have touched me in some way, shape, or form, and because they have touched me in some way or shape or form, I, invest a significant amount of time into researching the areas so that I can come to you with some level of competence for discussion purpose. So the first thing that I wanted to look at five key points when it comes to mental health and how we can address mental health, or as I said, just to be aware of it and see how we can help those around us that may be suffering from this condition. And how does it present itself? What are some telltale signs that somebody may be in mental distress and may require some little attention from you, or you yourself may be going through it and may just need to sit a little bit with yourself, with your thoughts, and try to um, understand and underscore what may be happening to you so that you can reach out and get the help that you may need if you are the one suffering from the condition. So the first thing that I wanted to look at is identifying whether the person that you may believe to be suffering from some mental illness, or it may be yourself, as I mentioned. The first thing that I want to raise in terms of awareness is whether or not this person often comes across um, as a people pleaser, and more so stronger than what is usually seen and characterized as a people pleaser. So immediately when I say a people pleaser or people pleaser or people pleasing too much, you know, is first evaluating the person and seeing whether or not they're always saying yes and putting others first and quietly destroying their own mental energy because of that people pleasing thing that is going on in their mind. And the reason why this is a telltale sign is because the mental anguish that comes over somebody that is always trying to please other people weighs heavily, and it places a significant amount of burden on yourself to carry if your every waking hour is geared towards pleasing others without pleasing yourself. And sometimes when somebody engages in this activity to a point that it becomes noticeably strange or noticeably weird, as the case may be, usually it's at their own detriment. So they are taking from themselves this ability to be satisfied and to be pleased with themselves because they are directing so much of that energy in pleasing others. And this will, as I said, have a heavy burden placed on your mental state because you have to keep doing this mental gymnastic throughout each and every waking hour. And sometimes even in your sleeping time, even in their sleeping time, they are dedicated to trying to figure out how am I going to please my spouse, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my boss, my instructor, my teacher, my academic advisor. It is this constant roller coaster ride of trying to please, and when you're not pleasing then you get sad, and when you're sad then you go into a state of depression, and that is where it starts. So identifying those persons, those persons who overly try to please others ahead of themselves or to the detriment of themselves. That's the first thing to identify. Then the second point that I wanted to identify into understanding, the secrets of mental illness that nobody talks about is the idea of social media. Now, this is a very, very important and high priority one of the key telltale signs. Now, we live in a world these days that is very driven by social media presence and social media activities and social media life. And one of the things that is dangerous or damaging about social media, albeit it's good, like everything else, it has the yin yang effect. It has its good, it has its bad. But one of the things that you must look for in somebody that may at some point in time suffer from some form of mental illness or mental health distress are persons that are heavily engaged in social media. Now, life is a part of social activity, and putting that somewhere, that is a part and parcel of life. But when you look at somebody and their entire or a large percentage of their day-to-day interaction is what is taking place within social media, this is a cause for concern, because what it does, it takes them away from the reality of life, the real things that are happening, and it sends them on a path of searching for something that is not real, and that is just the truth of it. That is just the nickel and dime of it. And when you're taken from what is real, the things that are really happening to you in your day-to-day lives, and you divulge and you submerge yourself into this world of fairy tales and daffodils and fairy dust and unicorns, it puts you in a place where you continuously have to try living there. And that is what social media in its effect is, albeit it has its good, but the bottom line of it that has somewhat driven the intelligence behind mental health has been what is happening in social media. Now, we can recall a lot of our influencers or entertainers or artists, whether locally in Jamaica or otherwise overseas, that we have seen them spiral out of normal behavior because a lot of it is driven by things that are not happening in their real world, things that they perceive is happening because it's happening within a platform that they have to compete and they have to show themselves to be the best at. And this then seeps into their cognitive function and causes them to spiral. Now, why am I making reference to this social media phenomenon? It's because a lot of it continuously fill within our spaces in our lives, and it curates a kind of a lifestyle that we all hope to have. And that's just human beings by nature. We all want to have the fancy cars, the house, the jewelry, the blings. We all want to have the fabulous life. But less than 10% of the world actually lives that life, and that is just the reality of it, my extraordinaires. So if you are grasping at something that only 10% or less than 10% of the world is actually living, you can imagine having to live with that anxiety and potential depression when you're now trying to curate your life, falling within that 90 percentile of people that don't live like that, yet still you're trying to curate a life of the 10%. Now that is going to have some cognitive issues and cognitive problems for you or anyone else that is you're seeing this telltale sign for. So watch out for that. Then you have one of the other telltale signs, which is the small stressors. Now I call them small stressors because that's exactly what they are. But in many instances, a lot of these small stressors are piled onto one another and they start to form a building block. And they build and build and build until they become mammoth things that are no longer within our control. So you start to now look at how did this simple little thing turn into a pile of things that I can't get a grasp on, I can't put my hands on, I can't figure it out. And that is when the mental distress comes on, and that is when the anxiety comes on, and that is when the anxious feeling of wanting to control it all and not being able to at that point in time because it has gotten so large for you. So that's another thing to look at. So when you see persons who are taking small things and not addressing the small things as they come, but they are just waiting for it to pile and pile. So you may know somebody who, they may have a very minor financial constraint, and instead of addressing that minor financial constraint, they go and they add something to that and extrapolate the effect of that tiny stressor. And then once that is extrapolated, it becomes not just a minor financial issue now. It now becomes something that may lead to lies, stealing, dishonest behavior. And then those kind of characterization of a small stressor becomes something now that they have to face head on. And it then becomes something that sits within the cognitive function and throws them out of a spiral. Now, this idea of toxic positivity, now that is something that is another telltale sign. And it's a telltale sign because for a lot of persons, when you think of toxic positivity, you're thinking about those instances where you always want to be made to feel happy, or you always want to feel joy. Now, again, I tell you, there is no such place as a place of constant happiness. Life is just not like that. So if you are desirous or you make a effort daily to be positive, that is a plus. But best believe you have to realize that at some point in time, life comes with some negatives. And it's understanding how to deal with the negatives now make it something that is manageable. But if you're going around with this toxic positivity thinking, everything I can do great, and it's just going to be fabulous, and I'm just going to smile and dance through the rain, then certainly when a moment comes and you can't dance, there's no rain, or there just isn't something for you to smile and frolic through, and there's nothing to take you through those days, then that is when the depression sits in. So understanding first that there are going to be days when you just don't want to smile. And if you don't want to smile, just don't smile. It helps. It helps. And if there are days when you want to cry, cry, because you can't walk around the world thinking that you have to put on a mask. That is a recipe for our mental health issues. Guys, if the day is not going good, it's just not going good. If the week is not going good, it's just not going good. What are you going to do? You can't smile certain things away. No, you can remain positive and optimistic, but don't try to daffodils and rain dance your way through things that are just not danceable moments. Because again, you will feel the brunt of that when it comes to those moments that you just cannot dance through. And finally, boundaries. Very big one, and I'll have a next session on boundaries, but I just want to raise it here as a telltale sign of a potential mental health issue, or something to look for in persons who may experience mental health concerns. No, you have to set boundaries in your life. You just have to. And boundaries are not to be seen as things that are negative. Boundaries will help you to be able to maintain a place of peace, and ensuring that at the end of the day, people understand where your limits are, so that you're not having to shift those lines of demarcation again to please anybody but yourself. And self-preservation is very important to mental health, because the minute you start to shift boundaries and you start to move the lines of demarcation, you're putting self last. And self is important in order for you to deal with everything else around you. And when self is not being dealt with as it should, it shows up in your cognitive functions, your ability to process things in a normal way. So I've identified 5 telltale signs, to be aware of in order to demystify some of the things that surround the secrets, or the taboo of mental health and mental illness, as the case may be. And of course, I can't leave it there without giving you some solutions or takeaways when it comes to these things. And I'll summarize them as starting from the last telltale sign: set boundaries. Set boundaries. And setting boundaries is just a means of protecting your energy and prioritizing your needs. Set boundaries. Limit social media. No matter how much you think it's a fab, no matter how much you think it's the in thing, no matter how much you think everybody is on social media, limit it. Look at your life. Look at how much time you give to social media, and carve out, like everything else that is important or relevant, carve out a particular amount of time that you will dedicate to this thing. Because truth be told, no matter what is happening, no matter what is considered to be the fab or the thing, fade at the time. Reality is your best bet. And chances are, whatever is happening in social media is done to amplify reality, right? Acknowledge your feelings. Journal what is happening to you. It helps. Sometimes you can't talk to persons about the deepest, darkest secrets that you may have, but write it down. Write it down. Find some way to release. Find some way to create an outlet for what it is that you're feeling. Write it down. Yeah? Manage small stressors from onset, from they start to show themselves. Manage them. Don't wait until they become large, stressful, uncontrollable events or series of events. Take them brick by brick. Prioritize self-care. Throughout your day, take about 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe in the morning, it may be at lunchtime, it may be midday, maybe in the afternoon, it may be at night. Just for yourself. It may just mean painting your nails, painting your toes, doing something for self, but make it a constant. Make it something that nobody else can interfere with. That 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. Read a page of a book that you love. Paint, draw, something. Find something that allows you to be with yourself. And finally, seek help. Get support. It doesn't matter what shape or form support comes in. Get support. Get help. If you realize that you have any of these signs, or there are more than one of them when you look at them in, accumulation, approach it as if you desire some real and serious assistance, because you may very well save yourself or save someone else that may be in a similar shoe. So get the help that you need. Get the help that you need for your loved ones. Get the help that you need for friends or somebody that you see suffering from any one of these telltale signs. And guys, believe you me, there are more. But just to give you an idea as to what are some of the things that you can look out for, look out for persons who are exhibiting one or two or more of these behaviors, and help. Thank you again, my extraordinaires. It's always a pleasure being here and dropping little nuggets, and hopefully the conversation can continue from henceforth. But take care until we meet again, where we'll discuss yet another in the series. And take care of your loved ones. Be good.